Hi, my friends and family. Today I've got a somber topic that's very pertinent and important to us all. And this video is called A Living Will versus Living in the Will of Christ Now. Actually, this video is called Thy Will Be Done. Every video is called Thy Will Be Done, actually. Due to attempted death by illness, I've developed somewhat of an X-Men type of super strength. There are those who think that life is nothing left to chances, but mostly holy rollers, transhumanists, and other vampiric dumbasses. You may choose to obey some celestial voice, but if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. I must choose the path that's real. I must choose free will. Now. Thinking about it, Geddy Lee was kind of a Leo-Jewish prog rock Jesus, having the audacity and courage to sing that around a couple years after I was born, to the whole planet Earth and make it a popular song. A living will versus living in the will of Christ now. Well, I thought of the idea for this video because how absurd is it? How overt and absurd is it that the Babylon Matrix has synthetically used that word to describe the person's, obviously it's, if you don't know, it's when someone dies who's wealthy or has a lot of stuff, it's the will is they give away the stuff where the stuff goes. It's a legal document that says where the stuff goes, and obviously calling it that is what I'm saying is phonetically is an overt mind control operation. Like, my will is my stuff I give away after I die. In the hijacked reality of this system of inversion, you are a sinner who must give up free will to God, get on your knees, and beg. Then life will begin after death. If you're completely obedient and really perfectly good, you'll go to heaven. If you don't do anything wrong now, or conversely, if you are an atheist, you psychotic sinner, or a capitalist pig, even worse, obeying the lying will of Lucifer, you have the will to do anything, but often nothing to help others till you die. And so that's the definition of the term a living will, is if a wealthy person who, whether they have any beliefs or not, or be truths or not, they make a document saying where all their stuff goes. It's called a living will. Do as thou wilt is the letter of the law. That's from the Satanic Bible. Balderdash to all that you people stand for in inversion. No one is more of a moral retard than the anti-life controllers. Christian Bible thumpers have no will now. If they're really good and obedient, there's no will now. It's a cult. And so they have no individuation in psychological terminology. The really obedient Christian cannot have individuation unless it's approved by the authorities. So materialist will only help people after they're dead. If they're a purely self-possessed materialist, they'll only help their kids or whoever they loved after they die. as far as with their material stuff. So, hence, the ass backwards, overt, mind-controlled slogan, I have a living will. Babylon is funny. Their mind control schemes are so funny, right? It's my living will. A paper contract that says who gets your property, your stuff, your money, and or material possessions after you die. After your spirit leaves this body, right? So this wealthy normie's will actually begins with what he agrees to in a contract to do with his material possessions after death. Also a totally inverted idea, although it may be helpful for others. This is again why I say that both I call them all death cults, the scientism death cult, you know, the what Mark Passio says, the religion of money in this case, as well as all the mainstream religions, even Buddhism in a way you could say, or shamanism, the two that I support, ancient traditions that I support, Buddhism and shamanism. You kind of have to, your old, former, reckless, sick self has to die for you to be reborn, and even into the respectful traditions. So that's another story. That's a trick like cannabis that can be used for good or evil. So the idea is that the living will might be helpful for others. Your greedy energy vampires. They thought they loved, for example. A living will is that person's material continuance. Sure, it would be good to have wealth to give or help others. And say, for example, I heard someone say, greedy people might give much better Christmas presents. But this is not totally living in your will. It is a materialist death cult's idea of consecration, because all they care about is material stuff and property value and the energy value of the blood in your body and your emotional energy that they can use in a loosh harvest, whatever the value is of all that. Like a Bible thumper or a pushover mommy, your entire existence is only for the future. Okay? Thy will be gone until your earth is in heaven. That's what they're really telling you subconsciously. Just like somebody has to come over here with an airplane now, because it's or a helicopter rather, because it's the year 2024, and it could have been them that took all of my possessions out of my tent and all of my food and my camper bag, all except for this, because they want to be exposed. They want secretly, like I said in the last video, everyone wants peace and the end of war, but they won't admit it if they're reptilian or controlled by them, right? So the invisible concept that takes all life, like build back better, whereas animals and very poor folks can often live are forced to live in the now, literally. So the only 100% real moment, that right now. To understand the truth and paradox of free will, as to the question of whether it exists or not and how you can use it, is that it requires a complex understanding of the variables. Are you being mind controlled and siphoned, or are you doing your spiritual blueprint, for example? Hence, a highly narcissistic person has little to no free will. Unless, even if they are living out their dream, they're in the state of anxiety and psychic violence. And archons and interdimensional parasites are always internally in your mind and your brain at the ready, unless you're unless you've removed these or learned to meditate so well that they can't mess with you. They're always at the ready to distract, destroy, pervert, subvert, or co-opt your will. Push it back down into the system of hell on earth. If you don't want to be a forager, or if you don't know how to be a forager or a farmer, you might have to figure out how to earn money, cash, or receive, trade, or use money to remain alive in a capitalist society. However, the original experiment of human free will could not be 100% destroyed or distorted as well. Some still have it. Some still have free will. Is awakening from mind control programming your psyche's adventure of a lifetime, or what? With discernment and tenacity, you find you still have some freed willpower, at least a few hours a week when you're not slaving away for the box. However, you will see with clarity how the deceivers, intergalactic parasites, often will attempt to ruin it with false concepts, dogma, hologramic inserts, fears, judgments, money's concept of divide and conquer, tactics of religious dogmas, death grip. With awareness, you will know your free will now. And why I say Lucifer is a moral retard. Violent people are also asleep because slaves aren't the only zombies. Violent people are also pawns to the dark side. Because Lucifer is a moral retard, because within freedom there are rules. And the Helite, they constantly break the rules. That's why they have to hide and pretend like they don't exist and make that their greatest trick. And the rule is not sacrifice and bloodletting requirements that they say it is. That is the deep state, or the dark side sick version. The reality is to live within the will of the real divine Christ, Sophia, and you can do anything you want. You can do anything you want, as long as it does not harm or interfere with anyone else's bodies or possessions. That's called the non-aggression principle, and ideally your own self, spirit, and body, mind, and others' souls and spirits. Of course, there are better or worse choices in life. Duh. Yet, with discernment and knowledge about this truth and awareness, real freedom of the will of the true God can be uncovered through you if you are harmless. After the intense clearing of the dark night of the soul, shadow work that most of us are having to go through now, if you haven't already, you can become relatively free to live your dream in the respectful now, but not before the psychological clearing. Because every time you lie, manipulate others, coerce, harm them, or harm anyone at all, you are being pulled every time you do that back into the soul-sucking, spiritually retarded whirlpool of Lucifer's mind control, soulless black hole, Abaddon, dead, vampiric, energy-sucking system. This show is my living will, in a way, in almost all the meanings I've mentioned in this video. For example, for a real example. Thus, it takes a lot of tenacity and courage and self-detective works. But, all that being said, you can truly ascertain how to live your harmless dream in the freedom of the mind of the true Christ now in your flesh suit. Operate truly within the living will of the real living Christ. If you have the courage and self-respect, discernment, and harmlessness and awareness to do that. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, if you haven't already, make sure you click on the IRI notification. Click on my IRI subscribe button, the notification bell for more. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. And together, and if you're a hermit like I've been, still individually and together. If you're a hermit, you can do it with the coyotes. Whoo! we can and will create a beautiful day. Create a great one. My family, loving you. Stay in the will and the mind of the Most High at all times, if at all possible. Love you, fam.